I'm particularly proud of today's podcast. We have Shane White joining us here today. I first met Shane at the 2021 American Heroes Celebration at NRS in Decatur, Texas. This is an annual team roping event my nonprofit, the Liberty and Loyalty Foundation, runs for military and first responders. Shane was still in the Air Force at this time, and with his 20-plus year career quickly winding down, he came to the event to watch as a motivated team roper, and he got inspired. The next year in 2022, Shane put his application in for the Horns and Heroes Clinic and was accepted. As Shane's military career was ending, he was looking for opportunities to leave the military and build a new life in the Western industry. After some research and work, Shane built an internship program the military offers to come work directly for me here in Stephenville, Texas. This program is called Skillbridge program and is available for all military members leaving service. After Shane built this program and the military accepted it, he finished out his last 180 days of military obligation before retirement, working as an intern on the property with Jackie and I. This Skillbridge program is something I'm proud of Shane for completing, and now I'm able to accept applications from any service member looking to do the same path that is an exceptional fit for the lifestyle, the work, and to engage with my family. Shane's objective for this internship was to find a great job in the Western industry, and he was able to make this happen after this podcast was recorded. I'm happy to announce and congratulate Shane on his new role at Equibrand as a project manager. We've got a great podcast today that will cover Shane's military career, his love for roping, and what direction he's going to be heading. Hey, this is Charlie. I switched gears from a professionally competing team roper to building my brand in order to educate and inspire. My new website will be the foundation for this new venture, Charly Crawford Training. I will be showcasing the variety of clinics I'm teaching in the upcoming years, opportunities to host one of my clinics, podcasts, videos, articles, gear, and other content on my site, charlycrawfordtraining.com. I need you to head over there and enter your email in the prompt on my new website. That way I can keep you updated on my new offerings and you can stay in the know. That's www.charlycrawfordtraining.com. Get your email in there and keep roping for the pay window. Shane White, welcome to the podcast, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Let's talk about when you joined the military.
Well,
Love to hear about it.
I joined the military in about 2003. Kind of like anybody else, into my high school career, didn't have very many plans. So, college probably wasn't in my future, and I didn't really have a good idea of what I wanted to do. So, like anybody else and most probably people that join the military, it was a very good choice for me. So, yeah.
So why did you choose the military?
I think it was the lack of direction that I had, family situations, kind of growing up, and then kind of guidance of what it was I had ahead of me, I guess, versus not knowing what I wanted to do. I think talking with a few friends of mine that had joined before, it just basically gave them the direction,
Mm-hmm.
So that I think more than anything, I was looking for direction. I had no direction.
Right.
So I was looking for direction, and the military just kind of seems to give you that direction. So, I didn't know, obviously, enlisting at the time where it would go, but I knew I just needed something other than what I had, and
I remember my dad talking about that.
yeah. So, kind of, and also too where you grow up, what the opportunity is there.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up in East Texas, kind of everybody did the exact same thing. They worked at the local factory or did this or did that. None of that appealed to me.
Right.
I always kind of not necessarily wanted to get out of town. It was just more or less I wanted to do something more, than what I had the opportunity to do where I was at. So I think that's really what was that passion to do something more than what I thought I could do where I was at was really what drove me to join the military.
What do you think? Why did you choose the Air Force?
Well, I had an uncle that was an Army recruiter, and they hit you up in class in high school, and and then
that.
your other your recruiters they they try to get you to enlist in this branch for this reason or that branch for this reason. Well, a funny thing that I always noticed about the Air Force recruiters was they never tried to get you to join the military. You know, they were always really laid back guys. You know, they're like, hey, man, you know, we offer this, but, you know, if it's for you, come talk to me. You know, they would always kind of just hand you your card.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and then I thought about the missions of each of the branches, you know, and kind of where I thought I would fit. And after sitting down with the recruiter, he kind of talked about aircraft mechanic and stuff like that. And I was like, man, that would be cool, you know. So then that's really, I think, what now I knew I didn't want to be on a boat, Navy. That was an easy choice, you know.
Right.
That was just me personally. But and then again, you know, Marines, Army, you know, their mission, and that just didn't seem a good fit for me. So it was a choice. It was an easy choice. And I also had a best friend out of my class that had joined prior to, and I think that had a lot to do with it because he seemed to love it a lot, and that probably kind of guided me towards that direction too as well.
Okay. What'd you do in the military? What'd you do in the Air Force?
So I enlisted as a bomber crew chief. Had no clue what that was, you know, but obviously when you enlist, they kind of give you a job or a duty title. And then, so the first job that I had in the military was a crew chief on the B-2 stealth bomber. So you want to talk about taking a kid out of East Texas and putting him on an airplane that's worth about $2.2 billion, you know, and it was the leading bomber of technology at the time. I mean, it was, wow. You know, so that was the first job that I did, and I loved it, you know. I mean, like you said, I was wanting to do something more, and there it was, you know. I mean, took me out and taught me how to work on airplanes, and then before I knew it, like you blink your eyes and you're doing the job. So, I mean, it was awesome.
So 21 years in the Air Force. What was your rank?
So I started out as a E2, and then I ended up making E8 at the end of my career. So I finished out as a E8.
What was the process to get from an E2 to an E8?
Yeah, you know, it's funny you asked that. I had a guy, I think I was in the courthouse at a time. I was in uniform, and he looked at my shirt and he goes, man, son, how'd you get so many stripes on your shoulder? You know, and I just kind of chuckled and I said, hard work pays off, you know, and he kind of laughed, you know, he was like, yeah, that's right. And, you know, because he saw how young I looked, you know, and I'm not saying so many, but I had quite a few stripes on this was at the end of my career, but I had quite a few stripes on my sleeve, and realistically, it's hard work, you know, it's like any other industry, it's hard work, it's showing up on time every day, it's putting in the effort, it's being the last guy, you know, to leave, the first guy in the morning, it's no different than any other job. It takes hard work to progress in the military. You know, at first it takes you doing your job, you know, and then after doing your job, now you become a manager of people and a leader, you know. So I mean, even that is more than doing your job. And I would say, you know, the way that I always progressed in the military was doing more. You know, doing not more than the next guy, but just doing more than that was asked of me, and that's. If I could say anything, that was my key to success. It was exceeding the expectation.
And I've seen that in everything you do. You know, we've been friends for a couple of years now, and just when I first met you, just throughout the experiences we've had together, everything is what you talked about. You know, you could tell like you have a spirit of excellence, and everything that you do is you're always there before everyone else. You're always there when everyone leaves. You're always filling in the gap of when things get dropped. You're always kind of in the shadows, and you're also leading. It's an extraordinary talent that you have, and that's pretty cool where you see what the military kind of helped mold you into. Yeah,
and you know, not just the military, but I mean, you know, the military is what I know, you know, because that's where I grew up. But you know, really the key to all of that was not just the military, but it was the supervisors that I had. You know, it was the people around me that I surrounded myself with, you know, that were good workers, good supervisors, good leaders, good mentors, you know. I mean,
do you feel like you had some of those skills before the military? Do you feel like you developed them when you were in the military?
Well, you know, I was always raised with a strong hard work ethic. My family was really disciplined and disciplined at times, you know. That's kind of how I was raised, you know. So the expectation was always there, you know, to do more than less. And then when you didn't, you were definitely, you know, they let you know about it. But I think it was a good transition for me. The military wasn't a surprise to me when it came to the discipline level of it. So I think it was an easy transition for me. Having the raising and the background that I did, my family definitely prepared me for the military. So I was thankful for that.
So 21 years in the Air Force, what was your best experience?
That's hard to say. In 21 years, I moved probably about every 3 years, and I actually bounced around to quite a few different jobs. I moved every 3 years, yeah. So, I had a really cool job as a B-2 crew chief, but in the same sense, the B-2 is only location at one base. Well, I said I wanted to do more, I wanted to do more, but not at one place my entire career, so that kind of guided me out of that career field and to try something new. So when about 3 years in, I said, man, let me try something else, So I volunteered for recruiting, and that was an experience in itself. I was 21, 22 years old, and, I jumped over and went to recruiting school, and they handed me an office by myself, So at 21, 22 years old, I was running a recruiting office by myself, which was I feel like I've always been put in positions that were way over my head that I had to step to. So I'm also thankful that they allowed me to do that, because a lot of times they won't put you in positions where you'll fail. But I always felt like every job I had, kind of forced me to get the job done or, step into the role that I wasn't ready for. So I did recruiting, and then after I finished recruiting, I went up to North Dakota and worked on the B-52. So I went back to crew chiefing.
Yeah.
So now this is kind of where I developed like my craftsmanship, and starting to begin that what we call non-commissioned officer, that manager role, where now you're not turning wrenches as much, but you're starting to make sure the job's done correctly.
Managing people.
But now you're managing a little more people, So maybe you go and inspect and make sure that job's done, but you've got other guys turning the wrenches for you, So that was the transition I made there. And then after that, even though I was in North Dakota for probably 4 years, and then, it's obviously cold up there. That was an experience in itself.
Especially from East Texas.
Oh, from East Texas, moving to North Dakota. That was an experience itself. Probably one of the most rewarding experiences.
Really?
Because like I said, there's always ways to look at things. You can look at, what you don't have and the situation you're in a negative light, or you can think of how it helps you grow, helps you get out of your comfort zone, helps you learn how to, just be in different situations that aren't necessarily the best of situations, So I was always thankful for the opportunities and situations that they put me in, because it kind of led me to other things, So after North Dakota, I moved to Wichita Falls, Texas, and then I was an instructor there. So I taught crew chiefs how to work on airplanes there. So that was an awesome opportunity, and also kind of build my instructing platform, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed teaching people how to do things, kind of like you in clinics, like I enjoy that. You seem to enjoy that, So then just to kind of wrap it up, that was kind of my last of my jobs, and then I moved to Louisiana, Barksdale Air Force Base, and then that was kind of fulfilling and beginning that leadership role. So, I kind of transitioned out of that, and then I just started going up from there. And I worked at the headquarters, Air Force Global Strike Command, and worked in the logistics division, did a lot of jobs from a management perspective, not just manager of people, but manager of assets. So now, going from managing my own plane or a couple of planes to now managing multiple airframes in multiple locations, and making sure that the bosses are informed on what's going on at the same time. So that was a big jump for me too.
Right.
Going from just turning wrenches on airplanes, teaching people how to work, and now you're working at the headquarter level where now you're managing multiple airframes, multiple assets, keeping track of all that short amount of time, and then providing the big bosses the answers that they need to know in a small amount of time. So I again always in a position that I had to step to that I didn't really think I was ready for, but other people all saw that side of me because guys would reach out and recommend me for those jobs. So I was really thankful for that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just the work that I put in; it was the people around me that took care of me that really helped my career.
What are some of the places you've been to?
So yeah, I mean, I've been a few places, not as many as others, I would think, but working on bombers, they kind of keep us in, I want to say safe locations, but not necessarily like direct strike locations.
Right.
So I mean, we would go to outskirt areas like Spain, Australia, England, um, Guam.
Yeah.
A lot of those territories that are kind of friendly territories,
Yeah.
and then we would take off from there and go do our business.
Get to see the world.
Yeah, I get to see the world. So I've been quite a few places.
So moving every 3 years and being all those places, wife, 3 kids.
Yeah.
How tough is that?
It's not easy, but again, like I said, I think the military trains you to be tough, number one, and deal with life situations, but continue to work and drive, but also handle that on the back end too, because a lot of the military is a lot of sacrifice, and not just sacrifice from deployment, but I mean, it's, a lot of people think sacrifice deployments or sacrifice, but it's a lot of sacrifice daily life. It's 12-hour shifts, it's working exercises, it's working multiple days, taking care of other families as a leader, because you're not just doing a job and coming home 9 to 5. I mean, you may have a guy walk in your office at 5 o'clock and say, he's got problems. Well, you're that's an immediate text message to the wife like, hey, I'm gonna be late,
Right.
because you're stopping that your 12-hour day, and all of a sudden a guy walks in and says, hey, I got problems, and you're taking care of them. I mean, because that's what your job is.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can't thank my wife enough for her patience and how much she supported me in those situations, because that's a selfless position to be in,
When we're out here rodeoing, we'll be in so many different states and places, and the time away when I was rodeoing that Jackie had to manage the kids and all the horses in the place and even the finances. So I'd be gone, checks are coming in, and you're out there kind of being a show pony out there going to every single rodeo, and it's tough being a husband to provide and make a living rodeoing.
Yeah.
And then, but that's just the half part of it, the sacrifices my wife had to make, being out here almost feeling like a single mom, handling all the kids, handling the house, handling all these things right out here. And, of course, I'm getting all the notoriety and the fame, and she's out here cleaning stalls and managing kids within their diapers. And
yeah, it don't stop, does it?
No.
I mean, the train doesn't stop. It keeps moving whether you're here or not.
And I'm not even, and that's just a small glimpse of what y'all go through.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Well, let's shift gears here. Now let's talk about some team roping. Now how long you been team roping?
Well, so I started team roping in 2012. 2012, that was when I moved to Wichita Falls, Texas. And that's when I started roping. I had a couple buddies that I had met, and they roped. And I had always had a horse background. I always rode horses as a kid. We had a lot of horses growing up. So I had a strong riding background, but I did not have a roping background. We didn't rope or rodeo as a family. We more trained horses and rode and sold horses versus roping and riding. But that's when I started, and I remember trying to figure it out on my own. It is like a lot of guys, I mean, it was a hobby for me. It wasn't a background. I didn't grow up with it, so I'm trying to figure it out as a hobby. I knew I enjoyed it. I knew I liked it, grabbing a rope and swinging it, and just kind of seeing, I could kind of see like it coming, just kind of that vision of like, man, this is fun. I enjoy this, and I feel like it's going to go somewhere, So anyways, that's where I started, and like anybody else, I just had to figure it out as I went. I didn't go to any clinics, I had a couple of contacts that I could talk to, but no practice pins, so I had to go figure all that out. So, I mean, that was kind of fun in itself, trying to find people, or like, because in the military, you kind of have to build that community. If you move every 3 years, it's almost like you have to pick your whole life up, and figure it out at the next location, because all the people that you've built contacts with and family and friends, like those guys stay behind and you move on to something else. So, I mean, I was used to doing that, so, I mean, it was no different in team roping. I just went to work finding people to rope with, and it was funny. I was actually left-handed And so that was a train wreck in itself, being left-handed. So long story short,
Tell everyone what that experience is like.
I've been to a few jackpots and seen left-handed healers, and there are a couple of guys that are pretty good at it, but it didn't take me long to realize that a left-handed healer is
It's so hard.
It's so hard.
I go through some clinics here and there and see a few here, and the young kids, I just really recommend learning how to use that rope with the right hand.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to find horses. The cattle handle differently. The steer that runs around the end of it and pushes on the end, you can hardly ever get around them. And there's just so many difficulties with that left hand. And I always tell everyone, man, I would switch and figure it out. But you did that.
Yeah. I think I did one jackpot, and I was like, this doesn't work out. So it didn't take long to swap to right hand.
Yeah. So we met 2 years ago at the American Hero Celebration in Decatur, Texas. And you came to that event and just came to watch.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, his name's Eddie Evans. Me and him were both in the military, both active, both the same rank, kind of in the same position in our careers. And he roped, but we always wanted to do it together, Well, there was never any opportunity for us to do that. He was up in North Dakota. I was down in Texas. We always, kind of conversated back and forth. And I think we had tried a couple of times to go to the PAFRA finals or the maybe some other military events, but I think they were up in Kansas. And I think they were in October time frame or something. That was a terrible time for us because that's when we always did our major exercises for the bombers. So that kind of took us away from doing anything like that. So he had hit me up one day about this American military celebration, and I had no clue what it was. But he said, man, it's in Decatur, He goes, we can rope together. And I was tickled. That was going to be kind of like our first time to get to rope together. And so I applied to the clinic. He got accepted. I didn't get accepted. But they said in the email, you just come watch anyways. And I said, well, I'll just come watch anyways, So that was an awesome opportunity. I came and stayed for the week and met you, but we just kind of grazed and high and by, but that's how I got to.
What was your experience of the event, just coming to watch as a spectator?
To me, it was unlike anything I'd ever been to. Jackpots were fun, ropings were fun, but to me, being in the same element as other military members brought a whole new meaning and level to team roping to me, because normally a military guy that ropes is not surrounded by anybody.
Your own civilians,
right? So like you're reaching out to another community to try to fulfill that need, for roping. So to be able to bring everybody together and rope it just changes the dynamic of roping, especially.
I remember it changed
guys.
the people that I've known that actually came to the event that I didn't even know was the military.
Yeah.
The first year that I did it. And the first roping that we have is a military and first responder roping, where the military first responders, you guys get to rope with each other.
Yeah.
The camaraderie that I'd seen amongst the group was amazing. But there were some guys that I didn't even know were military that were at the event. Yeah. I'm like, I didn't even know you served. I had no idea. And what was cool about that, I seen a different side of that guy.
Yeah.
It was like he was amongst his men. He was
Yes.
amongst his brothers. Yeah. And a whole new side just appeared to this guy. It was pretty cool to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of already have that kind of camaraderie, and you somewhat build it with that, team roping community, but still you kind of feel like an outsider. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You're still trying to be a part of another culture, you want to belong, but you feel kind of like an outsider because you didn't grow up maybe you didn't grow up that way, or maybe you did, but I think majority of us probably didn't grow up that way, and it's a hobby for us, so that's tough in itself, just kind of being an outsider, trying to fit in with the roping, trying to find people to rope with, that want to rope with you, not just saying, oh yeah, I'll rope with you, That's tough in itself, but to like I said, to bring those guys, same like guys, everybody just feels like they fit in, and that's what I thought was so awesome about the event, is it took all that dynamic away of, trying to fit in or find somebody to rope with, and it just relieved all of that, and now guys can just come and enjoy the event, and it's all about them. That's what's cool about it to me.
So then you come in, you watch it, you get to see what the guys get to do as they rope in that rope, and they get to rope with the guys going the NFR, and then you get to sit and watch the NFR showdown with the best guys in the world go 5 full rounds. You've seen it on TV. You're a team roping fan, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Probably never been to Vegas and watched it live.
Never been to Vegas, watched it live.
So watching it, standing right there, eye level with these guys, what was the difference between watching that live and watching it on TV?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind to me is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I mean, to me, that's kind of how everybody voiced their opinion, was like, this is a once-in-a-lifetime. I mean, getting to rope with the pros. I mean, you're turning steers for some of the best in the business, or they're turning a steer for you and you're heeling behind. I mean, when do you get to do that? I mean, I know they have pro-ams throughout the year, but usually, like, guys don't make those. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But when do you get to do that? You guys are busy, throughout the year. I mean, you're going to how many rodeos a year? Like, you just don't get that opportunity. Yeah. And so to me, it was, and then getting to watch those guys do their job together in that format was just, it was once in a lifetime experience, and then also it was one of the most memorable experiences I'll ever remember. Like, that was awesome, getting to watch that. And like you said, being eye level, you're not up there in the cheap seats, at the Thomas and Mack. You're literally eye level, at the fence watching these guys turn steers. It's just amazing to watch. You guys rope really good, and it's awesome to watch you guys work.
It's gotten fast. It's gotten real fast. And so, seeing the speed of it and just how fast things happen at eye level. I remember the first time I made the NFR, and, I'd only watch it on TV. Yeah. And then just to see it, it was even faster for somebody who had been in the game. I think I made it at age 27. Yeah. And I remember just how fast the start got there, how fast everything happened, and just watching those guys make runs. I remember Wade Wheatley and Kyle Lockett. I watched a run where they just spit one out right there. And that's the first time I'd seen it at eye level, seen it on TV. And it was like, that was fast. That was so fast. And then I'm up. Yeah. Now I got to try to do that.
You got to do it.
I remember that experience.
God, what was it like? I guess, like you said, it was fast, but what was it like for you, I guess, to make that transition and then have to execute it? How was that like?
It was so different because it's never practiced anything that small. Yeah. At that time, I never practiced anything going that fast, as a fact, like how fast the start got there. Yeah. Like you nod and you're right behind the steer, right behind the steer. When to get your rope up. I never cocked my rope before. Yeah. Until my first NFR. I kept wondering why them guys, when I'd watch them on TV, I'm like, why is their hand behind their shoulder? Why is their hand so high? Yeah. And then here I am trying to come from the horn and rope and practice. And I think Tyler Maggie goes, have you thought about cocking your rope? I said, no, why? He goes, so you can get your rope up faster. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So then I started learning how to cock my rope. I'm like, this is like a new toy. This is so much more fun. Yeah. Yeah. And then not only just getting it on them and getting that timing right there to when the steer clears to shoot, being able to throw, but then after that, now you've only got 55 feet from the middle of that pre-first shoot to the left fence. Yeah. So now as you clear the box, when you rope the steer, if he stays straight, you've only got 40-some feet right there before you hit the wall. And so learning the angles and the timing and the feel and where the left wall was to give yourself enough room to face. But I'm telling you, it was probably the 7th round of my first NFR before I even realized I roped steer. Yeah. Before that, I nodded, and then I was at the back end. I'm like, can anyone just tell me what just happened? It was so fast.
It's so fast.
It was fun, though.
It amazes me how the coolest thing I remember watching when those guys steered is how fast those headers can go at them, but then just how they make that steer just literally hop off. Like
Speedy. To me, when Speedy showed up, he just reinvented the wheel right there on how to handle steers, get it on them fast, and then get the most room out of that arena.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then after that, just blew up. Yeah. So then you end up watching the event, and then you and the guys, you end up hosting a clinic for me in Texarkana. Tell me about that.
Well, I had never hosted a clinic before. I hadn't put a team roping on before, but, me and a couple of guys.
So here you are stretching yourself out again on something you haven't done.
Here I am again, trying to step into a role, figure it out, Yeah, I mean, so a couple of us guys, I think we had went to one of the events in Granbury. I think it was that that Stampede, Granbury Stampede, that bronc riding, and I think we were
that's right,
promoting the event.
Yep.
Like I think we did a grand entry there. That was awesome. but that kind of stirred some ideas. We just had such good feelings, and we could feel this community building, and we're like, man, he's doing so much for us.
Yeah, that was Wes Stevens' event, that bronc riding in
Yeah,
Granbury. He's done a great job with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he includes all the military
Yeah.
in their grand entry, and it was so cool because it's on Memorial Day.
Yes.
And I remember getting to go to that event and with all you guys, and then it was fun, I think, in the fact that I wanted you guys to see what people appreciate, how much they appreciate you.
Yeah.
What I thought he did such a good job of, that those stands are full. Now, it's not a big stadium, but it's dang sure a decent sized event, and it was packed. It was maxed out.
Yeah.
And when you guys walked in there, I thought it was so cool. Every one of you guys that walked in, they individually talked about your rank, your branch, what you've done, and standing ovation every single time as you guys walked out. And I thought, man, that is so cool for you guys to see, to let you know that there's faith in humanity, that people appreciate you. But it was also cool, too, for civilians like me that actually get the chance to thank you.
Yeah.
So he bridged that gap really well on Memorial Day.
Yeah.
That's a tough day for you.
That experience was awesome. And it really kind of transitioned my focus from like taking all the appreciation or whatever, and then trying to now, like, I think me and a couple other guys were like, man, he's doing all this stuff. He's working on this throughout the year, like, and then I think we were like, what can we do for him? Like he lets us come rope, or he lets us come to his clinics or whatever, what could we do for him? Well, then I started brainstorming. I was sitting at the house and I'm like, man, what could we do? And you had mentioned that you had started putting on clinics, I think. And I said, well, man, we could put on a clinic here.
Yeah. Cause I'm retired by now, huh?
Yeah.
That's what I was doing full time.
Yeah. So then, I kind of started talking to a couple of guys, and I'm like, oh yeah, you put a clinic on, I'll come help, So, and I was pretty good at coordinating events. I had a lot of experience in coordinating events, with the Louisiana Wounded Soldier that I was on the team with. We had done, it was kind of the same thing. Like we had done, like we did a barrel racing and had Fallon Taylor come do like a small clinic for the barrel racing, and then we did some team ropings and ranch rodeos. We did some sortings, all these events, kind of the same like what you do, and then it raises money, and then they donated the money to the military, So I had already kind of had a background in that, kind of understood the event coordination piece of it, but I'd never done it before by myself. I was always like a team member, not really like putting it together myself. So didn't take long, just do a little research, figure it out. And then sure enough, we put on a clinic, and I think it was you and Buddy Hawkins there for the first clinic, and it went great.
Oh, it was phenomenal.
Golly.
Yeah, you had buckles and just the work that you had put into it. And just, people that when I got to that clinic, they were like, oh my gosh, like we had text messages. We knew exactly where to park. We knew what time it was going to start. We knew the agenda. Like you put in every detail to it, and it was amazing, you and the guys. Which to me, when I got there, I was a little bit starstruck in the fact of like, you guys did this for me.
Yeah.
And just because you came to the event, and for me, it was, a civilian.
Yeah.
You talk about how when you go into certain things, you're a little bit out of place.
Yeah.
Well, my dad was a Marine, but it's not like I grew up around military a whole lot other than him. And so, I have a big, my heart's definitely in the military, what you guys do and the sacrifices you guys make. And for me to be able to go into you guys and then feeling like you guys all of a sudden now got my six to where you guys get behind me and help do something for me. Not a lot of civilians get to feel that. I felt that.
Yeah.
And it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I never felt that before.
Yeah, and that's what was cool, is to be able to give back to you, because a lot of people I think sometimes feel like, well, what could we do for him? Like he does all this, but I thought it was a great opportunity to not only do something for you, but do something for the community. I think we talked to everybody in that clinic, and they're like, man, when's the last time somebody came to, Northeast Texas, Texarkana? Like nobody could remember when the last team roping clinic was. So, it was an awesome feeling to feel like I served the community too as well, absolutely. Because I thought it was a great opportunity to do that. So, yeah, and then, some of the people that was in that clinic said that's the best clinic they'd ever been to. So, that was a rewarding feeling too as well.
Yeah, for sure. So then last year, you end up getting into the American Heroes Celebration, the Horns and Heroes clinic that me and Trey Johnson do. So we do a 2-day clinic before the event starts, and it's free for the military. So then last year you get invited to go to the clinic as a header.
As a header, yeah.
Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, just getting to be in the clinic, and then now it's, like I said, I got to watch before, but you're sitting on the sidelines, but now I get to be a part of it, So, I mean, that was awesome, getting to rope, getting to turn steers for those guys. And then just at the end, the jackpot, when you're roping, for buckles.
Yeah.
That was awesome,
And Trey does such a good job. He's one of the guys, he's literally one of the guys in the shadows that helped get this thing out of my backyard that turned it into something that people were actually starting to feel like this is not just a clinic and the fact that you get to learn roping. He brought the fact that it was real.
Yeah.
He was helping people with PTSD.
Yeah.
Trey Johnson Ministries, he's an ordained minister, so he was also helping a lot of people that are struggling spiritually.
Yeah.
He was helping people that, are battling suicide.
Yeah.
Things like that. And the amount of people that started giving their life to Christ through this clinic.
Yeah.
And you could start seeing transformations of people. And he's really what kind of, in my opinion, shined the light on what we were doing. And then it turned in all of a sudden we were getting hundreds of phone calls. And then one of my buddies, Hotness, says, what about having a jackpot? So then we started having a jackpot with it. And so that clinic, where having him there doing the team rope and healing instruction, but then just the ministry he brings throughout the 2-day clinic, I've seen it change so many people.
Yeah, he's an amazing human being. He really is. Great motivator, great, great person.
Yeah.
And that helps too, in a sense of, like you said, and like we talk about in the clinic, there's a lot of people with a lot of backgrounds, and the people that's been through a lot of stuff, and I feel like team roping is a great avenue for a lot of those people to kind of get away from that.
Yeah.
When you talk about the speed of team roping, when you talk about the focus it takes to go rope a live steer and then handle it properly, and making sure your horse is in control, that kind of takes your mind away from everything.
Yeah.
And no matter what you've been through, whether it be, deployments or, post-traumatic or whatever, like it takes your mind away.
Yeah.
Like there's no way you can think about anything else besides what you're doing when you're roping. And that's really what it's done for me, to be honest with you, because whether you're into sports or running or working out, eventually your body takes a toll and like you can no longer do those types of things. Well, not only that, but people that's maybe been wounded or, maybe been, that can't do those things anymore, but that maybe they can team rope, know.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think it's done great for people in that aspect.
I've seen it too, just in rodeo guys, a lot of the roughies, Father Time's undefeated, so it doesn't take very long before they get an injury or their legs quit working. And I always say team roping is like golf. It's the golf of the Western industry, because there's no age, there's no gender. Yeah. There's a handicap, so you're able to rope amongst, your level of team ropers, and you can do it for a really long time. So the guys love to compete. Yeah. It's a good outlet.
It's fun to see the bull riders show up at the jackpots.
Hilarious.
It's fun to see them. I mean, they're there with their whole families. Usually.
Anytime the roughies show up, they bring entertainment, and they show you what it's like when they bring what they do.
Yeah.
Because those guys, they don't have to, when they get to the rodeo, they don't have to take care of horses. They don't have to take care of their bulls.
Yeah.
They get to go find what's fun to go do.
Yep.
And so they're wired to have fun. So when they show up to a team roping, they bring some excitement and
they
entertainment.
do.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And sometimes they also bring a little danger. I mean, there's been some guys that ain't safe. They're not, but it's great watching. It's great watching. So this year, now you get to enter the jackpot. Yep. Now you get to enter the roping, the Mill Pro.
Yep.
You get to enter the Mill First Pro, the military first responder roping.
Yeah.
Now you get to rope with the guys, and you get to rope with your buddies. You get to rope with the pros. Tell me about that.
Golly. I think the first year, spinning a steer, I think the first year I headed, I think I drew Buddy Hawkins for my partner. I think I just entered the head side, but spinning steers, and then I think it was Click Thompson that was taking pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a picture he took of me literally turning the steer for Buddy Hawkins, and there was like a big Bloomer trailer in the background. I mean, it was just such a cool picture. That was an experience in itself, something, like I said, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, so that was probably the peak of my roping career, I had been to jackpots or World Series, but that right there was probably the peak, memory wise, of my roping career so far, that was awesome.
That's the one thing I love to be able to get to let you guys experience. We also have the military first responder short round during the NFR showdown.
Yeah.
So 15 guys that make the short round, they get to feel what it's like to rope. at the Thomas and Mack Arena, and then watch those guys rope, and then it's fun to watch because they get to have the victory lap.
Oh, yeah.
The saddles are sitting there.
Yep.
I want them to know what it's like when they win the average at the NFR. As soon as they get done winning it, they get to make a victory lap. People holding their horses, photo in front of saddles and fully tooled buckles, and it's amazing. I've seen wives cry. I've seen guys tell me it's the best day of their life, and it's been fun to see what that event's done for you guys, and just to let you guys know too. I think just how much all of us civilians appreciate y'all. So I've also seen where sponsors and a lot of people get behind me on this too, because this also produces an outlet even for the civilians to be able to say thank you. I mean, look at the prize line. Yeah. Look at the sponsor money you guys. You guys 20,000 added in the military first responder rope.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, the saddles. I mean, I remember seeing those saddles. I was like, I've got to have that saddle. I mean, those saddles were awesome. And the buckles, Legends buckles, I believe, right? And Elite saddles. God, it's just everything was just top notch. Everything was, you could see.
It's just cool to see the support though of amongst other people and the sponsors to let you guys see that. I love that.
It was it was awesome. I mean, everything was just, it was awesome, and we appreciate it. That's another thing too, is us guys appreciate them doing that for us. That's awesome.
So then we become friends after that. You put on a clinic for me. We got to know each other quite a bit through the American Hero Celebration function there. And just like you said earlier, it didn't take long to see the skills that you had. You were one of them that was always making sure people were comfortable at the clinic, and you never even been there. Yeah. And you were always in there helping, but not in the way. You were just so productive. And so I wanted you to become an ambassador. So now you become an ambassador now for the American Hero Celebration. Yeah. Tell me about what you do now that handling the volunteers and everybody.
Well, so yeah, me and we had kind of talked back and forth, and then it's just funny how that grew, I guess, because we really didn't have a lot of FaceTime with each other. I mean, like I said, the first year I met you, it was kind of a high and by, and then we just slowly started kind of building that relationship, I guess, through helping each other out. And so then after I was in the clinic, I think it wasn't very long after that clinic that they reached out and said, hey, I think it was Bill Force that called me. He goes, Shane, Bill Force. He goes, hey, we want you to be the volunteer coordinator for next year's event. How does that suit you? I don't think you can say no to Mr. Bill Force,
no,
So I said, sir, I'd love to, whatever it is, I'm in, because I can remember you saying, some things, and that you're like, I'm in. It always seemed like you said, I'm in. So I was definitely in, and so I felt like it was a good opportunity and a role for me to play.
The role that you've fulfilled has been, because I've been watching it, and holy smokes, just the precision, the excellence that you bring to the table, and the communication level. It's for an unorganized team roper, it's amazing to watch.
Well, yeah, the military's definitely prepared me for that. I have them to thank for it, because, there's a whole lot of ways to do it wrong, and there's a whole lot of ways to do it right. But right or wrong, you've got to keep it moving, and you got to keep it effective, and the military is good at honing you into the effectiveness piece of that. And so that's really what I give credit to the military, is for honing my efficiency, and making sure that communication is where it needs to be at the right times, and who needs to know this and that. And so it's kind of a perfect fit.
So now you're up towards retirement now.
Oh, yeah.
Been 21 years. Yeah. Now we're moving toward retirement.
Yeah.
So what's that like?
Oh, it's awesome. I didn't really have any, rank goals or any year in the military goals, really. I think my goal was 20, and a funny thing in the military, like when you're starting to head towards the end of your career, like you never stop driving, like you're still driving, you're still productive, there's never really like time to take your foot off the gas pedal, because there's always something to do or somebody to take care of, so it's hard to take that foot off the gas pedal, because you're just wired to keep it on the gas pedal at all times. So when I started hitting that, everybody that I had talked to, like you said, mentor-wise, you start reaching out to those guys, the guys that had already retired, and now they're moving on, So now you start reaching out to those guys, man, what's it like, And they're like, oh, it's great, And every one of them, like, you just see a smile on their face. But not in a negative way, They're just like, they finished what they came to do, and now they're on to the next thing. So, I'd look forward to that, but it was getting close.
So at the end of your career, this is where you started learning more about Skillbridge.
Correct. So I
tell me
started
about Skillbridge.
Well, I started thinking about, what is it that I want to do,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, you've got to figure that out. At some point in time, you're no longer going to get a paycheck, or you'll get a retirement check, but you've got to start figuring out what it is you're going to do next.
Mm-hmm.
We call it growing up. We call it, what do I want to do when I grow up?
Yep.
That's
I remember
kind of
Mr. Bill telling me that a few times. Mr. Bill Ford, Charlie, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's a great question.
It's a great question. Well, same for us. I mean, now don't get me wrong, we've built a skill set, and
Mm-hmm.
we have trades that we do, but in the same sense, a lot of people go into different directions. They get degrees and they go completely different opposite of what they've done for 20 years,
Right.
And I kind of knew that I enjoyed what I did, but I knew I wanted to do something different,
Yeah.
So then started looking at avenues to do that. I learned about how I learned about it. I don't really remember, but it just kept surfacing, the Skillbridge program. And then it seemed to be a program that everybody started utilizing. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing my Skillbridge. Well, so again, talking to those mentors, well, I did my Skillbridge
Mm-hmm.
over here. I did mine over there. And I was like, man, what do I want to do? And so I remember the moment that I figured out what I want to do was last year at that Granbury Stampede. I think it was the second time we had went there. And I just remember the first time it was just the experience of just figuring out what it is we're doing. Well, the second time I knew what we were going to do, right? So I had a better knowledge. But then I remember at the end of that Stampede, just everything that we had did, I said, this is what I want to do. Like, I didn't know what that was, but I said, this is what I want to do. And I remember reaching out to one of the team members for the Hero celebration, military celebration. And I was like, man, this is what I'd love to do. I said, I don't know if Charlie would be interested. I said, but I'd love to do an internship. And I didn't even know what that was, but I was like, man, I'd love to do an internship for him. And so I remember just passing that out there, with no real plan of how that was going to work out. And then I remember sitting on the porch on Sunday and getting a phone call from you. And I looked down at my phone,
Shane,
and it
I'm
said,
in.
Yeah, I said, I looked down at my phone. I'm sitting on the back porch, and it says Charlie Crawford. And I'm like, hello? And you're like, hey, man, Charlie. How's it going? Heard you want to do an internship. Yes, sir. He goes, I'm in. So, yeah, I was like, hey,
And I get that all the time.
yeah.
I do. I get DMs all the time on interns and stuff with young kids, and I've taken a few of them in, and it's just you're spending more time babysitting than you're getting things done until you get somebody molded, and then finally when they get molded and they move on,
They move on. Yeah.
Oh, it was just such a headache. And I've seen how you are with the clinics. I've seen how you are amongst people and what you do with a military event, and I was like, you want to do an internship? I'm in.
Yeah.
Because I don't say that very often when it comes to doing that, because I got too many things going on. And I was excited. I was not going to let that ball drop.
Yeah. Yeah, and I appreciate that too, because that kind of, that really was the gap of, where I was and needed to go. I mean, number one, the program didn't exist. I say the program, but your internship, that we built for you didn't exist. I looked in the program.
So tell me about that, how you set that up.
Well, so I started doing research and figuring out, like, what can you do as a Skillbridge intern? So I started doing the research on the website. You can go to DoD Skillbridge online, and it talks about partners in the industry, that are internship programs. I mean, there's thousands of companies that you can go to do
on
an
Skillbridge.
internship. Yes.
Okay.
So then it also talks about different types of programs you can do. You can do like 180-day, 120-day.
Right.
You can do internships. There's different types of things you can do. But I was looking, and the horsemanship thing just did not exist. There was Terry Cliburn is an Australian horse trainer up in the northern region. He was the only guy that was in the program, period. Okay. So I reached out to him and called him, and he gave me the old good day, mate, But I'd asked him how he had did it, and he said, man, you fill out some paperwork, you kind of build a program, what you want to achieve in the 180 days, and then, it's like anything else. They approve it, disapprove it, and you're on your way, So I built a training program for us, and then before you know it, here we are. You know, that's amazing how it works. Amazing how God works. Because like I was a little worried because the process of getting things approved through the government is not necessarily a speedy process.
You're kidding.
Yeah, I'm not.
Unless it comes to taxes, they'll push that envelope.
So yeah, I mean, they told me it was going to be 4 to 6 months, to get the approval. Well, I was getting ready to get to the near end of my retirement, and I was like, ooh, I don't know if this is going to work in time.
Yeah.
So funny story, like it was approved in less than 2 months. I mean, everything I filled out and sent came back. So yeah, it's funny how.
So tell me about what the Skillbridge does for you as a military going into another lifestyle, because I had to eat crow a little bit in the fact of I don't always like what the government and how it treats you guys and things like that. But this program is pretty cool on what it does to help you guys into civilianhood.
Man,
tell me about that.
Well, I'm going to tell you, number one, that transition piece for some is smooth. The transition piece for others is not so smooth because it's not just for retirement. I mean, you could have guys that go in for 4 years, do their time, and then they move on, right? Well, for those kinds of guys, like those guys don't get a paycheck after. They have some benefits maybe, but they don't get a paycheck. So literally, November 1st or whatever it is, the day that they end their service, they no longer get a paycheck. So then they've got to figure it out after that, right? This kind of allows you for up to 6 months. It gives you time, to work in the civilian industry and kind of show them what you're capable of and can do, but you still get a paycheck.
Right.
To me, that is, I don't know if there's a better program out there. I'm sure there is, but, for guys transitioning out of the military, I don't know if there's a better program.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just such a ease of transition when you have time. Time is the biggest thing. And paid time, is the benefit for most of us versus having to figure it out when you're not getting a paycheck,
So you came out here to the Crawford Ranch here in May, right?
Yeah.
When you first came?
Yeah.
I was so excited.
Yeah.
There was one point in time I looked up one day and there was 8 girls here and I was the only guy. And I was just looking. I was almost thinking about buying my card again just to get back out on the road. Nothing again. I mean, breakaway ropers are fun. They are. I mean, they're moving. They're having fun. This and that. But it's just nice to have some men around. To be able to do some stuff. So when you came here, I was so excited. And man, the amount of things that we've gotten done has been just phenomenal. The organization. We're building a business. Yeah. The rentals going back and forth and stuff like that, getting to rope. And for me, it seems like that when we get to rope, like it's almost like our outlet.
Yeah.
Like it's actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
We've been training some horses. You started training some horses and then.
Yeah, I took some outside horses. Yeah.
And then ended up getting sore and had to send it back. Something with his bones or something. Wasn't it?
He was I think he wasn't sound when it ended up getting him, but he was a great stud horse that I was taking to train, and I was wanting to take him on the team roping, but he just didn't make it. So I mean, we made the decision to send him back. But yeah, that was it was a good opportunity for me to try to figure out the horse training piece of it. Like how it works.
Because we got to start like on some, and never even had a rope swung.
Right.
And then we got to the other horse, Gypsy. We also had him to where I only roped a few steers on him last year, and so you was helping me get them horses built back up. So we started from the ground to pretty much turning steers.
Yeah.
And then you brought your other horse, so you had 2 horses here, and was able to tell me what your experience was on the heel side.
Yeah, so normally I was a header. Funny story. That's what I kind of came here to do, and but having a house full of headers, and Jackie, she heading heels, but I remember the first day we were out in the pen, and I think Jackie was home. I was heeling for her, and I had kind of started doing that in the practice pens because where I was at, it seemed like it kind of swapped. It seems like I'd show up and there's a ton of healers and you don't have enough head horses to spin for healers. Right. And that seemed like it was always the way that it was. I didn't bring enough head horses to spin because they'll take heel shots as many as you can give them,
Yeah.
But anyways, it seemed like over time the pen had transitioned into too many headers, not enough healers. Well, then that's kind of how I started going back to the heel side, and so then I remember you were out there one day talking to a guy. I think it was a guy that was doing lessons or something like that. You were doing lessons for him, and I was heeling for Jackie. I think she spun me 4 steers in a row. and I think I doubled 4 steers in a row. And I didn't think that you were watching. I was just having fun heeling behind Jackie. That was an experience in itself, like didn't think I'd be heeling steers behind Jackie. That was kind of cool for the first time. And so anyways, you were watching over there in the background, and you were like, so why don't you heel again? I said, well, I guess I am, And that's how that started.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's coming up on October, so it's getting close to heading to we're getting close to our event.
Yeah.
And I've been watching how well you've been organizing all the volunteers for there, too. And so tell me about your time and experience here, getting to rope and going to jackpots. How do you feel like your transition's been going on the competition side?
It's been amazing. It's been an amazing opportunity. I won the first rodeo that I entered here in Llano. Went to the MRCA rodeo, won that one both nights, and that was awesome. Rope with Ty Wilson. He ropes great on the head side, and so that was kind of all the things that we had practiced and worked on. It was kind of the first test of my skills. So I mean, that was pretty cool to go win that one first out of the box. And then I think like anything else, once you actually start to work at it, like actually work at it, I think there's kind of a period where maybe you hit some highs and then you come down and hit some lows, and then you got to kind of come back. So that's kind of how the summer run went for me, the summer run kind of, and I don't know if it was the heat or just the fact that I was just kind of working at it, you know. So, I mean, I kind of transitioned through that working at it piece. And then a couple weekends ago, man, won again. And so that was a testament to, like, how you stay positive and stay a great attitude. And then, like, it works out, like you'll come back and win again. So I won a jackpot last weekend, won the 8 and 9. So that was pretty cool, too.
Then what was it like, too? You got to go rope with Corey Kuntz?
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, because we've been doing clinics here, and been helping you out with clinics during the summer too as well. So that was awesome in itself to meet Corey, number one, because I had never met Corey, and then just to see how he teaches the hillside, I was like, man, he's kind of like you on the hillside, because you break it down, to where it's very easy to understand, and you kind of. You can get some guys in a couple of days there to where maybe they ain't even turned a steer, and now they're turning 3 or 4 steers in a row by the end of 2 days, So that's amazing. To me, he was kind of like the same on the hillside, I mean, there's great guys out there, but he's kind of in the same period I think that you're in, as far as like he loves to teach.
Yeah, he does good.
He's awesome. So, I mean, he definitely helped me do some things and kind of helped me.
I can see the difference too. I think he does such a good job of breaking the swing down where it's easy to understand.
Yeah.
Sometimes the swing can get a little too sophisticated, trying to learn all the angles, and he does a good job with just the basic physics of around the circle. And I can see a lot of difference in your swing. And after that,
yeah.
So then one meeting, I know that you were really wanting to. One of your goals was to meet with Equibrand.
Yeah. Well, so again, doing this internship, it was kind of like I knew what I wanted to do, and really the goal was the Western industry. Yeah. So we take a class when we're getting ready to get out of the military. We take a class that kind of talks to you about transition, right? And then you do what's called it's like a gap analysis, and so like we say, the Skillbridge bridges the gap, right? But there's still a gap.
Yep.
I mean, you either continue to do what you've done your whole career, or you move on to something else. There's still a gap that needs to be filled. Well, I had a big question mark on mine, and I kid you not, like I turned my paper into the lady, and mine was question mark. She's like, "Why is this?" I said, "Because I want to go do this, but I don't know how to get there." Well, this internship kind of allowed for that gap to be filled, but I also wanted to network, while I was here. So that was a goal for me, was to network and kind of get with other companies and see, like, hey man, how can we take the skills of the military members and benefit the Western industry? I said, because I feel like people just don't know, what skills are out there. Like you said, you didn't know what skills I had, you did, and you just don't know what you don't know.
You could see it, just didn't know it. Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, how could we benefit the Western industry? And it may not be a ton of people, but there are some people out there with some skills, leadership, management skills that people just aren't aware of. People think of usually veterans as maybe a guy that, worked on a this or worked on a that, and that's all they know how to do, when really it's almost the opposite. Like there's a lot of guys with some management and multi-asset management capabilities out there that could fit in some pretty good roles there. And so, yeah, I mean, I was talking to you, and then you said something about, we were talking about companies, and you're like, man, you want to talk about a good company like Equibrand. Like, those guys are integrity. Those guys are, like, I remember them taking care of their employees. Them people have been there for 18, 20 years, so I started thinking about, like, our core values, in the Air Force. Our core values are, integrity first, and then service before self, and then excellence in all we do. That's our core values, so if everything that you see of me should, and I hope is a reflection of those core values.
Absolutely.
So you said Equibrand, and so it wasn't long that I was getting a phone call from Billy Bray, and that was awesome, and so me and her sit down there at the headquarters in Granbury, and we had about a 2-hour meeting, and she was just like, wow, And
She called me. She was blown away.
So, I just kind of told her where I was at and what I was trying to do. And from what I hear, she doesn't say wow a lot, And so
it's hard. She's hard to impress, but when you do, you know it because
she's sincere, and she is sharp,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I look forward to maybe if there's an opportunity there in the future, like maybe helping them out how I can, and other companies too, like continuing on.
So tell me what your experience was. So we go to the rope shop the other day.
Yeah.
We're going to look at designing some ropes, and we got to meet Ken.
Yeah, that was awesome. Like, I'd kind of met
Ken's kind of a myth. He's a legend. He's a myth. You don't see him much.
You don't see him much. But yeah, when he's there, he's all there, That was awesome to be able to sit and talk with him for a few minutes and just kind of talk with him about some things we've been doing. And he was impressed too as well. He kind of shed his light on how impressed he was about going from nothing, that to what we've built, and then what we would love to do in the future, is really what this whole program and what me and you've built.
I'm excited to see where that relationship goes. I really am.
Yeah.
Because I think you could be the spokesperson, I think, for Skillbridge, for the Western industry to bridge that gap. Because there's a lot of businesses out there that could use the excellence that you guys bring to the table, the structure that you guys have in their business. And I think you'd be a great spokesperson for that. I really do.
Yeah, it's been an awesome opportunity. It's been an awesome experience. I wouldn't have traded this experience probably for anything else, being here for 6 months. And what I've learned in those 6 months, I mean, you can't put value to that. I mean, that's, to me, life experience is something you just can't pay for. You've got to get out there and you've got to go do it. And you got to say, yes, I will do it versus I'm scared to do it.
What do you think? What do you think from your outside perspective of looking what it's like to be a professional rodeo cowboy, and then now all of a sudden for the last 6 months being in the middle of this tornado? What expectations changed? What do you think that was different when you showed up than what you learned and how it is out here?
I think you said at one time, I think the most eye-opening piece of it was how hard of work you have to put in for the least amount of pay. You said that one time, cowboys work hard, hardest work put in throughout the week for the least amount of pay. And to me, that says things in itself to watch you and Jackie work all day long and rope all day long and handle business all day long. Just the amount of things that you guys have to get done in a day, but then now you've got to go compete on the weekends, and go win a paycheck. To me, that was the most eye-opening piece of it, because we work hard, for a guaranteed paycheck, and cowboys work hard for hopes of a paycheck, right, on the weekends.
Absolutely.
Now I know you guys have side gigs, that you build for, horseshoeing or training horses or whatever, but at the end of the day, you're trying to make it in rodeo,
Yeah,
so,
the one thing about the Western industry, you work harder for less, whether you're a farmer, rancher, you're out there all day, and it's amazing if you put them same skills to something else, you'd be successful for sure.
Yeah, it's been an experience for sure, and it's been fun. It's been a fun experience.
Well,
it's
we've
been
enjoyed
fun
freaking having you. Your family now, brother. That's for damn sure.
Golly.
So tell me, so you and I are hanging out. We're knocking things out. We're getting things done. We're freaking rolling right here. We're freaking getting them. Because it's a different lingo. When you come from the military, and then how I talk and how you talk. I always tell everyone, if you was amongst to be where you and say me and Trevor Brazil were talking, there's going to be some things you're like, I don't even know what he said right there. And which if you're being a crew chief, you and somebody else working on a plane, as you guys were talking, I'd be like, there's the wings and the handle. That's about all I know on a plane. And you guys, your sophistication talk. And so the lingo, we're getting each other's lingo figured out. We're getting a structure. We're getting a schedule. We're getting a routine. Yeah. And then I have to leave and go do a clinic.
Yeah.
And I told you, I said, okay, now Jackie's going to be here. So I'm going to just
you said Jackie was going to be here. You didn't say Jackie and
a few grenades. There might be a few grenades that get thrown your way. So watch out for the tripwire, a few landmines. So tell me, what was that weekend like?
You said Jackie was going to be here. You didn't say Jackie and her friends were going to be here, which was about 8 of probably the best ropers in the world, on the female side. Yeah, you didn't tell me that was happening. You just kind of led me into Jackie's going to be home. Well, Jackie's going to be home means everybody's going to be home.
Means everybody's here. And you never know.
Oh, yeah, you never know. So, barn was full, girls everywhere, as far as the ropers. And I think it was the all-girl in town.
Yeah, no telling.
Yeah. So, that was,
So
you just kind of have to fall. You just kind of have to fall in line because there's a plan there. They have a plan. You're not going to know about it, but you're going to be a part of it.
So you got your routine. You're knocking things out like we do, and then Jackie shows up and says, "Hey, Shane."
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
She says, "Hey, you got a minute?" Yes, ma'am. I have a minute. What do you need?
And then how long was that minute on that job?
About 4 or 5 hours later. Yeah. About 4 hours. I'm kidding, Jackie, if you're listening.
I called Shane. I said, Shane, when I called you, I said, how's the grenades going?
Yeah.
Tell me what you said.
Yeah, I said, you said grenades. I said, this is more like a nuclear bomb going off. I said, it's everything going every which way in every different way. You have no clue where it's going.
I said, what was the difference between here and Afghanistan?
I said, well, at least in Afghanistan, like people are shooting at you, you can run and move out of the way. I said, I was like, there's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to go. Like every direction you move, you're into another landmine or tripwire. It's funny.
Strike.
So it's been a great experience.
Oh, I laughed. That was funny.
It's fun. It's fun. It's fun working for you both. It's been an experience, but it's.
Everyone always asks me this. Says, so what's it like, being married to Jackie and rodeo and kids, and how do you guys balance? I'm like, there's no balance.
There's no balance.
Have you ever been in a tornado? That's what our place feels like.
Just getting through the day, and it's not a bad thing. It's just so you guys have so much going on. It's been an awesome experience to be a part of it. And
what do you call it? Organized chaos.
Yeah, the organized chaos. Yeah, it's chaos for sure, but it's organized chaos. It's amazing how much you can get done in a day is what I've learned. Like you can get a ton of stuff done in a day. And I think for the last 6 months, that was what I feel like we've done is, the organized chaos, we've structured it and organized it. And that's what I could say we've done the most is we've gotten it done, crossing
the business I've been trying to build and just use structuring and organizing everything to where, coming from being a rodeo cowboy, now I'm trying to, turn what I know into a business now, and just so many other things that as a cowboy, I've learned how to, manage a calendar to orchestrate going to so many rodeos and being able to organize that and the logistics of that, and then now trying to do it into another business. And how I learned how to do that was just about as hillbilly as you can get, and where you bring so much professional structure to it. It's been amazing. Where I'll be able to take that going forward. So I appreciate everything you've done, man. Your family now, one of good friends, and I appreciate everything you've done here. And I can't wait to see you this year at the AHC event.
Yeah.
Heading and healing.
Yeah, I'm excited. Mm-hmm. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. So, man, thank you for your service, and thanks for being on the podcast, brother.
Thanks for having me.